It was barely 6 a.m. on Halloween morning 2008 when Dan McCann knocked on his daughter Annie's bedroom door to say goodbye to her before he left for work. It was dark. I could see her shape under the covers, McCann told ABC News. I said, "Bye Annie, I love you," and shut the door. That would be the last time he saw his daughter alive. Annie, a 16-year-old high school junior, was a passionate artist. Her work decorates the family's Alexandria, Virginia home. Growing up in a devout Catholic family, Annie liked drawing crosses, but her obsession was capturing her cherished dog, Breezy Max. She was a good student who played basketball and made her mother Mary Jane laugh. At 16, she still collected Arthur cartoon DVDs and Madeline books. Annie was always smiling and upbeat. Her parents say she acted young for her age. She was sheltered and a homebody with a small circle of friends. Annie had just gotten her driver's license and her parents let her use the family's white Volvo, which she drove to and from school. She was preparing goodie bags to hand out Halloween night. On October 31, 2008, Dan McCann left to go to his managerial job with the TSA in Washington, D.C., while Mary Jane, a former White House IT worker and now stay-at-home mom, was on her way to upstate New York to visit the couple's son Sam at college. For Mary Jane, the first sign that Annie was in trouble was when she didn't hear from daughter that afternoon. Annie McCann goes missing from her home in Alexandria, Virginia. Her parents learn she never made it to school that day and find a note on her bed saying, "This morning I thought about killing myself, but I realized I can start over instead. If you really love me, you let me go." In the note, Annie assures her parents she will be careful. "I almost collapsed," Dan McCann said. Then the McCanns immediately contact the Fairfax County Police Department. She took her 1,000 cash savings and her jewelry with her in the family's white Volvo. Annie's parents and friends had no inkling that the honor roll student and devoted homebody was in any way unhappy with her life. On November 2, 2008, Annie's body is found behind a dumpster at the Perkins Home Apartments in Baltimore. Homicide Detective Sergeant Sean Jones of the Baltimore Police Department immediately suspects homicide and begins to investigate. He found out that Annie McCann drove from her home in Alexandria, Virginia to Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore police found Annie McCann's white Volvo abandoned at a gas station not far from where her body was found. November 18, 2008, Sergeant Jones receives a fingerprint hit from processing Annie's car. The hit ultimately leads to a local Baltimore teenager. Despite finding the car, the Baltimore Police Department has few answers. Police say it appears Annie had not been beaten, strangled or stabbed, so they wait for the autopsy report. It was not clear how she had died or why she was even in Baltimore, a place she had visited only occasionally with her family. The Baltimore police believe Annie committed suicide, but the McCanns were not convinced that she took her own life. Because of the continuous pressure coming from the still grieving parents, new information and new developments continue to unfold. When the autopsy was completed, the results were shocking. The report didn't note any significant trauma, but said Annie was found with a small amount of alcohol and a large amount of lidocaine, a common numbing agent found in all kinds of over-the-counter products, including Bactine, an antiseptic Annie had been using to treat her recently pierced ears. We found near the car a Bactine bottle that had the lid removed, Sergeant Jones said, and on the lip of the bottle they found Annie's DNA. It was an unexpected place to find it, Jones said, stressing, "The lip of the bottle would have been covered by the spray pump. It has to be forcibly removed." The Baltimore medical examiner who conducted Annie's autopsy determined the cause of death to be lidocaine poisoning, but said the manner of death, how it got into her system, was undetermined. After seeing the autopsy results, the police say it was a suicide. The mystery of how 16-year-old Annie McCann wound up in Baltimore and how she ingested a fatal amount of the numbing agent lidocaine has never been solved. More than 12 years after her body was discovered behind a housing project dumpster. But her still grieving parents have not relented in their search for answers. There were no signs of foul play. Suicide, Baltimore police concluded. Case closed? No way, said everyone who ever knew Annie. Maryland's chief medical examiner David R. Fowler said the test results were checked and rechecked. He said he also questioned the idea of a Bactine overdose, but his pathologists checked with the PhD toxicologist who runs our laboratory. He assured us they had looked at that and verified that there was enough lidocaine in a single bottle. Police said they consulted Bayer, the manufacturer, and found that there was more than enough lidocaine in one bottle for a fatal dose. Annie's parents, Daniel McCann and Mary Jane Malinchak McCann, don't rule out that their seemingly happy daughter killed herself, but they focus on the innumerable factors that seem to contradict that. Searching for clarity, the McCanns hire a private investigator, Jim Consis, then a recently retired detective from the Baltimore Police Department. Consis is only one of the several experts the McCanns hire. They also consult with renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden and celebrity psychiatrist Dr. Keith Ablow. Pathologist Michael Baden said in an interview 1 year after Annie's death that he had analyzed the autopsy and tests done by the Maryland Medical Examiner's Office. To ingest the amount of lidocaine found in her system, Annie would have had to drink 5 or 6 bottles of Bactine, he said. 5 ounces of Bactine, the amount in a single bottle, Baden said, would not contain nearly enough lidocaine to give the levels in the body that she showed at autopsy. He said that the medical examiner's finding that the manner of death was undetermined was correct, but that police should not have concluded suicide without definitive evidence or witnesses. Baltimore police connect a group of Baltimore teens to the theft of Annie's car. One of the boys, Darnell Kinlow, admits they stole Annie's Volvo and took it for a joyride, but claims when they found her in the backseat she was already dead, so they dumped her body and took the car. They deny any involvement with Annie's death. Police say Darnell Kinlow, who had been linked to removing Annie's body from her car and taking the Volvo for a joyride, kills 26-year-old Lakeisha Player inside her northeast Baltimore home in a domestic dispute and takes her car. He is charged with first-degree murder. Almost 5 years after Annie's death, with few leads in the investigation, the case is assigned to the Cold Case Squad in the Baltimore Police Department. They believe Annie killed herself by ingesting Bactine, pointing to the lidocaine found in her system. Sergeant Jones told in an interview he doesn't have any other evidence to point in any other direction. The family, however, remains dissatisfied with this conclusion and continues to seek answers. The McCanns seek the help of Senator Charles Grassley, the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, to get answers about their daughter's case. They ask people to write letters to him asking him to look at Annie's case. Diane Downey, from the funeral home where Annie's service was held, writes a letter to Senator Grassley saying the staff at the funeral home always suspected homicide. There was absolutely no way this was a suicide with all the trauma to her body, Downey told during an interview. The staff at the funeral parlor was suspicious of a goose egg bomb on Annie's head, what Downey considers a cigarette burn on her forehead, and what appears to her to be a mysterious letter J on her ankle. Downey believes the teen was raped and beaten. Senator Grassley sends letters to the Baltimore Police Department, the FBI and Bayer, the makers of Bactin, asking for answers. The Baltimore Police Department and FBI stand by the original investigation, believing Annie most likely died by ingesting Bactin. Bayer, the makers of the drug, however, says that it does not expect that the amount of lidocaine present in one 5-ounce bottle of Bactin could have caused death. The mystery of how 16-year-old Annie McCann wound up in Baltimore and how she ingested a fatal amount of the numbing agent lidocaine has never been solved. 13 years after her body was discovered behind an housing project dumpster, the McCanns presented in 2016 new issues in the investigation that they said Baltimore police have declined to address. Skin cells were found under Annie's fingernails, often a clue to an attacker's identity if a struggle occurred, but the police case file indicates they were not tested for DNA. 19 locations in and around the Volvo also produced DNA which was never tested. Why isn't DNA under a dead girl's nails tested? Can it be tested now? Autopsy records indicated that Annie had at least 20 and perhaps as many as 40 abrasions all over her body, contrary to McLean's claims, and that she had subgaleal hemorrhage in her skull, all indicative of blunt force trauma. McCanns have also previously noted that Annie had a new round abrasion on her forehead, which they believe is an obvious cigarette burn, and that the funeral home where she was embalmed observed a grossly distended rectum, indicative of sexual abuse. Some experts said such a condition can occur as muscles relax after death, but the embalmer told the Post in 2016 he had never seen such a case in thousands of bodies. The medical examiner and the police concluded that Annie must have drunk lidocaine from an half-full bottle of Bactin because her DNA was found on the lip of the bottle, without ever checking with Bayer to see if there was enough lidocaine in a bottle to cause death. Bayer has said it will take 3 full bottles of Bactin to kill a 110-pound girl. The police did not attempt to identify a woman seen with Annie in a Baltimore pastry shop on the morning after Halloween, who was clearly described by 2 shop employees and the subject of a detailed composite drawing in 2009. The police also did not pursue a man who exchanged text messages with Annie in the days before her death and who had family ties to Baltimore. Also, an investigator for the McCanns interviewed Justin Strom, who ran what federal prosecutors called the largest underage prostitution ring in the Washington region's history. The ring recruited young girls from Fairfax County high schools, including West Potomac, according to Strom, and will take them to Baltimore for prostitution. Strom claimed that it was not uncommon to force girls to drink numbing agents to make them comply. Strom is serving a 40-year federal prison sentence for sex trafficking of a child. In addition to having the state police take over the death investigation of their daughter, the McCanns also asked Hogan to direct the State Secretary of Health to commission an independent autopsy and review the original findings, in which the manner of death was undetermined and cause of death was lidocaine toxicity. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. If you found my video interesting, please follow my channel and hit the bell for being informed about the upcoming video. Thanks for watching.